The silent conductor Elias Carter was born into a world of sound. The son of a renowned orchestra conductor, he grew up backstage at grand concert halls, where velvet curtains and polished violins were his playground. By age 5, he could identify every instrument in a symphony by ear. By 10, he was composing his own melodies. His father's dream was clear. Elias would one day stand on the podium, baton in hand, commanding the attention of thousands. But at 12, a sudden illness stole his hearing. Overnight, the world fell silent. The doctors called it sudden sensorineural. Hearing loss, SSHL, permanent untreatable. His father, devastated, withdrew. The symphony halls became a cruel reminder of what Elias had lost. He spent years in isolation, learning to lip-read, scribbling music he could no longer hear onto paper, only to crumple it in frustration. At 25, Elias worked as a librarian, surrounded by books, but aching for the music he could no longer experience. He wore his hearing aids like a shameful secret, avoiding conversations, convinced he was half a person. Then, one rainy Tuesday, Meera Patel walked into his life. Meera was a deaf percussionist who played in an ensemble for musicians with hearing impairments. She didn't see silence as a prison. She saw it as a canvas. "You think music is only sound?" she signed to him one evening after catching him staring at a piano in the library. "That's like saying a painting is only color. Music is vibration. It's rhythm. It's the way your ribs hum when a double bass plays low enough. You don't need ears to feel it. You need your whole body." Elias resisted at first. "I'll never conduct again," he signed back bitterly. Meera smirked. "Who said you had to hear to lead?" She dragged him to a rehearsal. The musicians weren't playing for the audience. They were playing for each other. Some felt the vibrations through the floor. Others followed the flick of the conductor's wrist, the way his shoulders dipped before a crescendo. Elias watched, stunned, as the music moved through them like electricity. Meera handed him a drum. "Stop mourning the music you lost. Start feeling the music that's still here." The lesson: 5 truths. Elias learned motivation isn't about fixing. What's broken Elias spent years trying to fix his deafness, resenting himself for what he lacked. Meera showed him that motivation isn't about returning to who you were, it's about becoming who you can be. Thoughtfulness is a superpower without sound. Elias noticed things others missed, the way a cellist's breath quickened before a difficult passage, the tremor in a singer's hands. His silence made him a better observer, a deeper listener in ways hearing people never could be. Mindfulness is feeling the unseen. Music wasn't gone. It had just changed forms. He learned to conduct through touch, placing his hands on the piano to feel the vibrations, guiding musicians not with his ears, but with his awareness of their energy. Confidence comes from owning your story. The first time he conducted again, he didn't hide his hearing aids. He stood tall, letting the musicians see his hands, his expressions, his body as the instrument of rhythm. Self-acceptance is the final note. He stopped calling himself the deaf conductor and became simply the conductor who feels. The final performance. A standing ovation of hands. Years later, Elias stood before a sold-out crowd at Carnegie Hall. The lights dimmed. The musicians watched his hands, not for sound but for the way his fingers carved the air, the way his spine straightened before the downbeat. The piece was his own composition, the unseen symphony. When it ended, the audience didn't clap. They raised their hands and signed applause, palms shimmering in the stage lights like 1,000 silent fireworks. Meera, now his partner, grinned from the wings. Elias bowed, not to the crowd, but to the version of himself he'd once thought was lost forever. We spend so much time grieving the versions of ourselves we think we should be that we forget to listen to the music of who we already are. What if your greatest weakness isn't a limitation, but the very thing that makes your voice unique? What if the world doesn't need you to fit into its idea of whole? What if it just needs you to show up as you are, flaws, fractures and all, and let your life be the symphony? Ask yourself today, What part of myself have I been trying to silence? That might actually be my greatest strength.